The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is The Loudness, where our random, rowdy, and raunchy band of misfits create top 10 lists of life's most insane shit. Be scared. Nothing is off limits. So congratulations.
You just made the list!
I'm the Music God Slain, and this is The Loud List. You know what we do here? We laugh, we have fun, we make top 10, top 15, top 20 even, lists that rock. Tonight's episode, due to whatever reason, kind of got screwed up, trashed, whatever. So we are doing this one on the fly. My guest, he's been on a couple episodes. You've heard him. It's Mr. Bill Van Egel, Bill V, whatever you want to refer him. Bill, he's back. We're going to discuss the top 10 TV comedies we love watching. But first off, for those of you that haven't heard this gentleman before, I'm going to tell you who he is, give you a small rundown on what he does and why he's here.
A small rundown. All right, here we go. My name is Bill Van Bagel. I've been on a few times. I enjoy talking with Chris and the audience here. And I've been a podcaster for about 7 years. I've co-hosted a horror movie podcast called Land of the Creeps, where we irreverently review horror movies and series that have been around from the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari all the way up to Sinners. And then I also have my own podcast called Music, Movies, Sports, and Stuff, where we talk about music, movies, sports, and pop culture. We talk about pretty much anything irreverently. We stay away from heated current events, and we stay away from religion because nobody wants to listen to people argue. We want to smile and have fun. So let's get her going. Elbows up. Let's enjoy this one because you need to know the backstory behind this episode.
Yes. So the backstory is we were going to do a recasting of Happy Days, and he had his done and I had mine done, and I had a hard drive failure and it toasted my list. I spent like over a week and a half creating because not an easy show to recast. The caveat obviously being it had to be current actors, and that's very hard to do. So I think we're going to widen the net a little bit when we do get around to recreating the list. We're just going to go ahead and use actors from any era, personally, because.
But this next one, I'm not reviewing. I'm going with what I got.
That's fine. So, I'll recreate mine and we'll get it done here. But tonight, the top 10 comedy TV series that we love to watch. This is put together in about an hour and 90 minutes worth of warning. So if we miss something, please forgive us. But
Yeah,
I have
it's funny.
mentioned, he said he has 9.
Chris mentioned to me that he was having issues with his computer and to come up with a quick topic. Well, today I used the chainsaw to cut down a tree that had fallen off my property. So I was in the middle of hauling this propane-filled or this gasoline-filled thing to the Home Depot. And he's like, what do you want to do? What's off the top of my head? How about comedy? Okay, sure, great. Okay, let's go. Got an hour.
I didn't know if there was like a music topic you were familiar with really well. I know we already done like the Canadian bands.
Yep.
I was waiting for you to say like top 10 Canadian songs or something.
No, I want something that people will want to listen to and entertain. I'm anything if not a person of the people. So let's give them what they want.
Right. So with that said, we're going to run through this really quick because we are kind of time limited for this. So start them off. You said you had honorable mentions. Who are your honorable mentions?
I have 9 honorable mentions, and I won't go to any elaborate because time is limited, and we also don't want to spend time on ones that didn't make the list. So my 9 that didn't make the list. Welcome Back, Kotter. Family Ties. The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I love that show. I don't care if it's a feminist show. I love that show. Mr. Bean, Everybody Loves Raymond, Night Court, The Big Bang Theory, and 2 of them that I both at one point had on my number 10 line is The Odd Couple and Newhart. Not the Bob Newhart show, but Newhart. Larry, that's my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl. That was my first one off.
I'm fully aware of.
I mean, the original wasn't bad either, but it was more of the time, whereas I think Newhart itself is a little more timeless.
So my honorable mentions, and it pained me not to have 2 of these on my top 10, but I just couldn't find a place for them because these other 10 are shows that I just watch more.
I'm waiting to see where you put the Partridge Family.
My honorable mentions are Golden Girls, The Bernie Mac Show, News Radio. My name is Earl. Elf and Roseanne are the two that it pained me not to have them on my list, but I just couldn't find a spot for them because the 10 that are on my list, I watch pretty religiously, and more so than, Elf is one of my late night pleasures. It's one of the channels that's on the Samsung thing, and I watch old episodes of Elf a lot, and I still laugh at them.
Do you think they could do Elf nowadays?
There's actually talk of them doing a
reboot.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, it's not going to be a reboot. It's supposed to be a direct.
Oh, a direct, like a continuation. It's one of those things like The Simpsons where it can just continue.
Yeah, because I guess the Lori is who they were going to do it with Benji, but he died. So I guess the sister, the daughter, is supposed to be her family.
Is the father still with us?
No, the mother is. The father and the son are both dead now. The mother and the daughter, the two women
survived.
Managed to survive. So, I guess you could make it work. I mean, CGI is a lot better, and editing is a lot better. So it'd probably be much easier.
They'll just have it where it's the wife got married, had a kid, and the mom lives in the basement.
Something
like that, yeah.
But
or it'll be like on Who's the Boss, where Mona just pops by all the time.
Yeah. So number 10. What do you got at number 10?
Number 10 is the only show on my list, slight spoiler, that I believe is still currently on the air. And it's one that's not a true comedy in the sense of, it's got a 32-minute runtime with commercials at, 18 and 32 after. This one's more experiential. And this one, it's Impractical Jokers. I find Impractical Jokers one of my, if I got nothing on and it's on, I'll watch it. You've got 4 basically lifelong buddies. You got James Murray. You've got Brian Q. Quinn. You've got Sal Volcano. And Joe Gatto was in most of them. He's not in it anymore. And Joe eventually left. And they put it on hiatus for a while. But they've come back and they add guest stars come in. And I don't enjoy it quite as much. But I understand they wanted to keep going and he's not on the show anymore. But what I find it's irreverent things that they do in public. Like they'll go to the grocery store and try to steal somebody's groceries and see how many they can get out without the person noticing. Or there's one with Sal where he goes to or they all go to like an Italian buffet place and he walks by and you try to see how many pieces of food you can steal off people's plates. Like these kind of things that are just stupid. And I'm sure there's a scripted element to this. I mean, it's a reality show. There's some scriptedness to it. Otherwise, I don't know how many times they get punched or kicked in the balls or it's sworn at,
Yeah.
But I actually saw them live as a comedy troupe. They played Toronto a couple of years back and saw them just before the pandemic hit. And I just find them goofy. I know there's an element of lack of authenticity to it, but I do think the ideas originally do come from them. So that's what I went with.
Nice. Number 10 for me was a show. It was on for 3 seasons. I loved it. It's because I love the sardonic humor of it, the dark humor, and the fact that it was written in a way that it was very over the top. It was a TV show that you simply couldn't do by today's standards. I had David Spade in it. It was a show called Just Shoot Me. And basically he played the son of his dad owned a fashion magazine. And he was he was David Spade, basically playing a character that was similar to David Spade, who was forced he lost all his money gambling and whoring around. He was Charlie Harper, basically. And he had to go to work for his dad's fashion magazine. And he didn't know the first thing about women's fashion other than, negligee type stuff. So it was him bumbling his way through working for a fashion magazine, but essentially still being David Spade. Essentially, smart ass, sarcastic, always messing with the women, hitting on them, talking shit about the guys, and it was David Spade starring as David Spade, basically. So
it wasn't a huge stretch.
Yeah, it really wasn't, but it had some really great line. There was one of my favorite ones is his dad had a male assistant who I think he was supposed to be gay, but he wasn't, and David was always making fun of him and about his inability to pick up women. And he told him, he's like, bro, you couldn't get laid in a monkey whorehouse if you had a pocket full of bananas. So number 9, you got a number 9.
Number 9 is one that, just before we got on air, we were talking about, Pluto TV and those kind of channels, Samsung TLC, that they have their own dedicated channels to. And this is one that I know they have dedicated channel to. And, if I'm tired or sore or don't feel like thinking, I'll throw this on. And that's Taxi. Absolutely love Taxi. I mean, you got a cast of 1,000. It's an ensemble cast, but it's great. It takes place at a taxi cab company in New York City, right in the heart of the city. And you get all the personalities and atmosphere that you'd have in 1978. So you've got Judd Hirsch as the guy that's been around there the longest, the veteran cab driver. You've got Jeff Conway. You've got Mary Lou Henner. You've got a young Tony Danza. You've got a young Christopher Lloyd. You've got a young Danny DeVito. You've got a young Andy Kaufman. Like, just with that many people around. I mean, it was written by John Charles and the Walters Company, people that had been involved with the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It's a successful formula. But what I like about it is it's irreverent, but still relatable.
Yes.
And that's what I like about it. Like, I mean, I don't care if you're a millionaire or somebody that's making $7 an hour. You get what they're going through. And so that's what I very much, it kind of exposes the underbelly in a funny way.
Yeah. Taxi is a show that I would really think would, if they wanted to reboot it in today's, thing, I think Taxi could still be I
was going to say, keep that in mind for future.
Yeah. Like it's one of them shows that there are people like Billy, the one who played in Mike and Molly and Bob Hart's ABBA show. Like, he would make like a great character for it. And,
like, could you not see Chris Farley playing Danny DeVito?
Yeah, if you were using people who weren't alive, but I mean, there's still people like, even if you were using current people, there's a lot of people that you could use not only as main stars of it, but as sort of one-offs, like guest appearances.
Like I could see Judd Hirsch's character being played by Seth Rogen. I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd, Kai Penn would make a great character, like Kai Penn, Harold and Kumar. He would, like the Andy Kaufman type of character, like make him Indian and sort of, like the stoner type dude. I mean, there's so many avenues. Taxi is really one of them shows that
it's almost like it's a blank canvas that you could spread however you wanted.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to directly copy it. Like, you could just loosely, it's a taxi company. You have the greedy guy who's in charge, and then the wacky ensemble. And that wacky ensemble could be, Melissa McCarthy. It could be just people who are funny and irrelevant and have that timing to be.
And it doesn't have to be New York City. It could be Miami. It could be Kansas City. It could be Detroit.
That's what I'm saying.
Wouldn't matter.
Johnny Galecki would be a great one for it. Sarah, the one from Roseanne, Sarah, the one who played Darlene.
Yeah. Or the girl, the redhead girl from that 70s show could be Mary Lou Henner.
Yes, I am all for that. Yes. Laura Prepon, you can put Laura in any role, I will watch it. Laura is just about one half a whisker hair below Lita Ford in the list of women I would crawl through glass for. Laura is fine. The tactic number 9 for me. Speaking of Johnny Galecki and them, Big Bang Theory. I find myself rewatching this. It's really, it's a show that shouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked in the 80s. It wouldn't have worked in the 70s. In the age of the internet and geekdom, it works. And really well.
That's a show that my 75-year-old dad liked early because of my dad was an economist. He taught university and it hit him at that level.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It was smart but funny. Like it made topics that normally would have gone over people's heads relatable. It was almost like a Seinfeld, Frasier type of show where it was highbrow, but you had people like Will Wheaton and there were lowbrow jokes in it that
tons.
Howard's character sort of brought it back down to where it was still smart, but it had the sort of blue collar
Well,
I love
who
that
was
the most,
who
though.
was the guy that worked at the in the comic book store that can never get
Yeah,
laid?
Stewart.
Yeah,
So
Stewart.
they're
Yeah.
doing a spinoff with him.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, the Stewart, the girl he ends up dating at the end, and then Brian Posehn, this character is going to be in it, and then the one that Sheldon hated that stuttered, he's going to be in it. So it's got like 4 Big Bang characters, but none of the main ones. That's got like 4.
No.
Called Stewart Saves the Universe, almost.
I mean, to me, the only knock on that show is I found that it ran maybe a year or two too long because they were,
Yeah.
you know, when you start to get the romance involved, that's the end of the
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Either romance or a kid is the end of any.
Yeah, or when there's too much romance. I don't think it necessarily ran too long. It's that they had too much romance. Everybody was involved in the romance. If they would have had,
Yeah.
the main two, Penny and what's his face and Howard and that, then it would have been good. But then you put Sheldon in one, and then pretty much everyone was doing romance other than Raj. And it just became more about the relationships than it did about what the show was, which was
You know,
just
like the quirky stuff that happens at the university was funny.
right.
You know, like I remember earlier in the episodes when Galecki had finally hooked up with Kelly Cuoco, and she
Yeah.
goes, you don't have to send me a card every time we sleep together. And he goes, okay, well, don't look at your mail next Tuesday.
Right. Number 8. What do you got at number 8?
Number 8 is probably between Big Bang or this one was the last comedy that I watched with any regularity. And I had watched the prior version of it first, and that's the American version of The Office. You know, like Steve Carell playing that kind of irreverent, almost extension of the what's the one he did with Will Ferrell, The Anchorman. You know, he just has a way of playing those kind of characters, but it's not just him. He doesn't carry the show because there were episodes he wasn't there. It's the cast of characters and it's the situations you got into. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've worked in an office before, and there's all kinds of politics and dynamics and things you got to do to pass the idle time and the boredom. And, you know, like they obviously took it to a certain extreme, but not so far that it didn't make you laugh.
Yeah, I've never watched The Office. I've never worked in an office
Okay.
per se. So, but I have
But
friends that watch it religiously and swear by it. So,
yeah, like I wouldn't say that, you know, like it's not like when I run home from after work and say I'm going to pop it on. But if it's on, I'll watch. And it was one of those
Right.
ones that, you know, at least if I was walking by, I'd stop and watch.
Right.
You know, it's not like, you know, like iCarly or some shit like that I just keep on going.
Number 8 for me, we're going old school with this one, all the way back to the not say early 70s, middle 70s. Number 8 is Mork and Mindy.
Nanu.
It was my first time seeing Robin Williams. Yes, I know he was fucking coked up out of his mind, but his energy, his just completely off the wall stupidity made that show, and then made it even better at the end when they adopted their son and it was Jonathan Winters in the reverse thing. And Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams together were just so funny, man. Like just
Yeah,
two of the best improv comedians.
When I was a kid, they were still coming out with the ones with Jonathan Winters, and then you'd watch the reruns later in the day or early in the morning or whatever. And yeah, that's another one you could adapt to a modern audience.
I think the problem with Mork and Mindy isn't not that it couldn't be done. It would fail if somebody tried to do it in the way Robin did.
Yeah, if somebody, like if a Jim Carrey tried to be too over the top.
Right. Like if you went into it with the mindset that you were just going to imitate Robin, you're dead from the start because you're simply not going to do that. You have to play it a different way. You either have to be a little more low key, or you have to be more serious, or you have to be something or another. But you can't just walk into it trying to imitate Robin because I'm sorry, you can't imitate Robin.
The other element that might not work would be, you know, part of the charm of the show was Robin Williams' naivety. Yeah. And in today's culture, there's no way you'd be naive to that many things.
Yeah.
And instead of talking to his leader up above, he could be talking to, I don't know, Chat GPT, you know, like, I don't know what he's
that was my number 8. Your number 8.
Sure.
Number 7 for you.
Number 7 is one I don't know if you've ever heard of. I grew up in a house where we sometimes watched PBS and we would get British television shows. And one British comedy that I used to watch quite a bit and quite enjoy was called Yes Minister. Later became Yes Prime Minister, starring Paul Eddington as an underling minister that later gets propped up to be prime minister. And you've got the private secretary played by Derek Folds, who was kind of his nemesis, yet the one that also helps keep him in the government in place because he wants a patsy as the prime minister. And all just the zaniness of what goes on behind the scenes of Parliament and all the making fun of all the red tape and the machinations of government. And it's just so over the top, very British, yet very funny. And that's why I like the show.
I watch Blackadder quite a bit, and
Blackadder. Okay.
I do have one Canadian show, and I do have one BBC show on my list. So
I don't have
the new time.
I theoretically don't have a Canadian show, but it is. So you're just gonna have to see what that is.
Number 7 for me was in your honorable mention. It is the original version of Night Court. I do like the new version. I thought they were very respectful.
I just saw a post. I guess they canceled it.
Yeah, after like 3 seasons.
The girl, the main girl, the girl from Big Bang, I guess she was doing everything they could to try to save it, and they just couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them things where it's hard to find the magic of the original, and Marsha Warfield coming back, I thought was a smart move. Unfortunately, they didn't get another season to really integrate her back in. They missed a window right from the beginning, not getting Richard Mall in some capacity. He died at the end of season 2 or towards the end of the recording season 2.
Is Harry Anderson still alive?
No.
Knows he passed?
Yeah. He was one of the first ones of that group to pass.
So I think Mac died as well, didn't he? Yeah.
So did Marky
Post.
Yeah. So all the original cast, Marsha Warfield and or John Larroquette are about the last two now, still standing. And
I mean, I remember watching the original series, and the one bailiff lady, she died.
The older lady.
Yeah.
But the black one, Marsha Warfield,
came in after.
Yeah. They integrated her back towards the end introduced her at the beginning of season 2, and then she guest starred in a few episodes, and then towards the end of season 2, she came back. So they had the 2 black female comedians who they were hilarious together. So Night Court was my number 7.
Yep.
Number 6.
That Night Court was part of that Friday night NBC with Cosby Show, Cheers, Family Ties. The whole fantastic.
Yeah.
My number 6 is one, I'm not sure what network it was on, to be honest, but it was from late 70s to the early 80s. I think maybe 5 to 7 year span. And that's WKRP in Cincinnati. I'm reading right from the Wikipedia. The ensemble cast includes Gary Sandy as Travis, Howard Hessman as Dr. Johnny Fever, Gordon Jump as Arthur Carlson, Lonnie Anderson, Tim Reed as Venus, Bailey Quarters. You've got Richard Sanders playing Les Nessman, and Jan Smithers played Bailey Quarters, and Frank Bonner as Herb Tarlick.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is one you can watch and just, you don't need to think.
Yeah.
And I mean, it helps that they play rock and roll in the late 70s in an era that I enjoy. He'll often be playing Kiss or Deep Purple or The Who or something going on in the background. Queen is playing, but it's just so bloody ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know it's so over the top, but it gives you, again, kind of like Taxi, a little kernel of truth as to what that industry is like. And, and there was one episode I remember, it must have been in the early 80s because John Lennon had just died. And it was all about, very apropos to today, the religious right complaining about the messages being said in songs, and they were curbing their advertisement time with them. And, it's or they did that episode right after the Who tragedy in Cincinnati, where all the people died in the open air seating, general seating. And so, yeah, I mean, God willing, who is the line? God willing, I wish I thought turkeys could fly.
Yeah.
Oh, the humanity. So, yeah, I love WKRP.
Cincinnati.
And it's probably the first sitcom that had a different intro and outro.
Yeah. Number 6.
I was going to say, sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog. Your number 6.
Number 6 for me is one I probably watched this the second most of everything on my list, just because it's on like 9 different channels, varying times. Loved the earlier episodes more than the later episodes, but the later episodes weren't as bad as people say. That's 2.5 Men.
Oh, 2.5 Men. Yeah.
There's something about, the Charlie's just wanton gluttony. And then you had the housekeeper who, always Bert always had like the best remarks. Her ability to always have a sarcastic, I'm not cleaning that up, some shit like that.
And who was the kind of a dim-witted girl that used to hang around the house?
Yeah, Candy.
Yeah.
Charlie slept with her first, and then Alan hooked up with her and married her.
Did they both? And like at a certain point, I just stopped watching because it wasn't the Charlie Sheen stuff. I didn't think the kid was as funny as he got older.
He wasn't on there as much. The kid. What made the kid funny was a lot of the shit that he did. He played off of Charlie's character, shit that Charlie did, and then as Charlie wasn't around as much, he kind of had to either play off his dad or play off his own, and he wasn't as funny by himself.
Well, I mean, there's one thing, it's one thing to be an awkward, chubby 9-year-old, but an awkward, chubby 14-year-old isn't as funny. He just isn't.
Yeah, right. So that's my number 6, 2.5 Men. Number 5.
Number 5, numero 5. I will go with another of my BBC shows, one that we used to watch on a Saturday night quite often, and I've seen every episode because there was only, 4 years worth, and that's Fawlty Towers. Fawlty Towers with the one and only John Cleese. You also had Prunella Scales as Sybil. You had the Spanish waiter Manuel, played by Andrew Sachs. And you also had, Connie Booth, playing
character
Polly.
that inspired Turturro's character in Mr. Deeds.
Oh, did he? Did she?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Turturro basically said that he didn't directly copy him, but that
pretty well. I mean, the thing that it is I think they made 1 or 2 seasons, and then they stopped for like 3 years, and then people wanted it back, and then the BBC got them back, and then they did like 3 more series. But like John Cleese gets so wrapped up, and seeing him unravel as this guy who has a hotel on the side of the beach in the southern part of England where they're trying to get, people, and he's trying to get an upper class of clientele. And the wife just wants anybody who will pay the bill to come in. And you've got a cast of characters that come in, and the incompetencies of the staff and the incompetencies of John Cleese. And oh my God, I don't know. You could probably make it today, but you'd have to tame it down. You just couldn't get away.
Said, I would love to see an American version with John Lithgow playing that character.
John Lithgow, yeah.
Because he's got that sort of same kind of manic energy.
Yeah, you'd have to have somebody that could do both ADHD and OCD and a little bit of alcoholism. Tie it all in together.
Yeah.
Paranoia,
You'd have to have John Lithgow playing sort of the type of character who played on Third Rock, where he's just sort of all over the place.
Yeah.
Number 5 for me is my Canadian show. It's a show that I wasn't even aware of until last year. I saw a TikTok clip of it and thought, okay, whatever that is, that was fucking hilarious. I got to go watch it. I found it. I have never laughed so hard at a show, and how they film this show with the straight faces they film it with is just absolutely beyond me. My number 5 is Letterkenny. How they film Letterkenny and just keep a completely straight face while they're doing what they do. I couldn't do it. Like the dick characters are just, I could not give that whole spiel that's like a 3-minute dialogue of dick jokes. It just keep a completely straight face doing it, bro. Like when I started watching it, like the whole thing, and I was just like, dude, this is fucking great. And then he spun it off into Shoresy, and it's just like, I love him. Like he is just really a great writer for stupid characters, basically.
I've never seen it. I know that there's lots of hockey references.
Yeah.
and
Well, for
such
Shorzy,
attention.
there's
Yeah.
not as many in Letterkenny. Letterkenny is more centered around the farm, the little vegetable farm.
See, when you were introducing it, I thought you were going to say Trailer Park Boys.
No, it's Letterkenny, and it's just the Amish neighbors. Their last name is Dick.
Oh,
So
okay.
you know, the husband's name is Hugh Dick, huge Dick, and the wife's name is Anita Dick. And there's always every time they show up at the farm for something like Wayne, and he's like huge Dick, and he's like I trust that we have treated you right, and in return we have done the same for you, and they'll give the spiel, and then he's like, yea, again, it is that time of summer where we have packed sausage all summer. So we would like to invite you to Anita Dick's sausage party. And then they give this spiel about, the guys coming to a sausage party. And perfectly straight face while they're delivering these lines. And I'm just like, there's no fucking way I could give a 3-minute dialogue with dick joke after dick joke after dick joke. And just complete seriousness, dude. And Wayne's just like, and then the sister comes out and she's like, Mr. and Mrs. Dick. And he's like, have you seen our daughters? Have you seen the Dicks? And she's like, can confirm. Or she's like, have you seen a dick or two? And she's like, can confirm. So it's so Canadian in everything they do. But I mean, it's one of them shows. Like I said, I didn't even know about it until last year. Then I saw the TikTok thing of it, and I just almost in tears watching just the little 30-second thing. I was like, I gotta find it.
So where in the States do they show it?
It's on Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had to find it on YouTube or something.
No, it's on. You can see the shorts everywhere, but Hulu has Letterkenny, and Letterkenny I think is up to 9 seasons, and then I think Shorzy is in his 4th season or something. So Letterkenny finished, and then Shorzy sort of became more of a serious thing. So Shorzy is like the current one, but
okay.
That's my number 5. I'm sorry. Number 4. What do you got? Number 4.
Number 4 is one what everybody calls their name, Hears. And it's one of those ones where, back in the day, Thursday night, NBC had their power lineup. It might be the strongest lineup in TV history. I don't know. Where you had The Cosby Show, you had Family Ties, you had Cheers, and then you had Night Court. But Cheers was always the one on at 9. So they made, for the longest time, it was the fight to be able to stay up to watch Cheers. Because you could always watch Cosby Show, and if you were a good boy or girl, you could watch Family Ties. But Cheers was 9 o'clock. And Cheers was good because, one, it's based around sports. I liked it. A sports bar run by a former Major League ball player. Ernie Pantuso behind there was a batting coach, and you had the whole lore of Boston. Like, not much of a sports town, eh? Like, give me a break, Boston, of course. But you've got these quirky characters. Later you get Woody Harrelson. You've got Shelley Long. You later get Kirstie Alley. You get Norm. You get John Ratzenberger. You've got all these wacky scenarios. I mean, for a while there, it's just there's so many people. Integrating them all together in a cohesive story is not the easiest. So what they tended to do was, certain shows centered around certain cast members, and then otherwise it's just a community thing. There I forget, was it Gary's Old Town Tavern was the other side bar on the other side of the road, and that they were up against, or Carla's Many Kids, or Carla Can't Get Laid, or Norm's Wife, or John Ratzenberger's Crappy Day, but he thinks he's a great mailman, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it had a catchy, it was quick, 27 minutes. The story finished. It was always a happy ending. It wasn't that controversial. I enjoyed it. And a great song.
Sadly, it was a show that I didn't ever get to watch because it was on at the same time as Touched by an Angel.
Oh, God.
Or, I'm sorry, Highway to Heaven.
Michael Land.
There were only 2 rules in my grandfather's house. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Rule number 1, dinner, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock? Oh.
4 o'clock. Not 3:59, not 4:01. You had to be at the table at 4 o'clock or you didn't eat. The other rule was, could turn the TV. Didn't matter what you wanted to watch. If Michael Landon or Andy Griffith or any show with them were on TV, that's what you were watching. So you could pretty much plan your week around when Little House on the Prairie, Matlock, Highway to Heaven, Mayberry, anything like that. If it was on TV, you planned your week around it because otherwise it didn't matter what you wanted to watch. So that's what you were watching. Like we had one TV in the house. It was Grandpa's TV. So 4 o'clock was Little House on the Prairie. That just happened to be what was on. So we watched Little House on the Prairie every single day while we ate dinner. It just happened to be on. So I know Little House on the Prairie probably better than any TV show because I've seen every episode 318 times. So, Number 4 for me is my BBC show. Another one I was introduced to last year, Fall Down Funny, Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah, I've only seen that a couple times. I haven't seen it a lot.
I saw some shorts of it. I had to start watching it. And then, of course, right shortly after I started watching it, they did the Medea movie, and they were in the Medea movie, which was fucking even funnier because, having Mrs. Brown and Medea in the same movie was, all of the jokes of Medea couldn't understand her and her being Irish didn't understand anything ghetto. And it was really a great combination. And apparently there's a new one coming where Medea goes to Ireland, which is going to be hilarious because Mrs. Brown's Boys
is that's Irish, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Irish.
It's very Irish.
It's Irish, but it's on BBC Network.
It's on the BBC, yeah. But it's like it's irreverent. There's a lot from the little I've seen. There's a lot of jokes about things about like the church.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, the vicar is in. He's in a bunch of them, and because he's always coming for the granddad, and different things, and she's always trying. I think the last episode she was trying to get the father, the Catholic priest, interested in her daughter, and the daughter wants nothing to do with the Catholic priest, and it's the whole, but it's a cute show. It's funny, and she's always saying something off the wall. That number 3, who you got at number 3?
Number 3 is Here's My Canadian Show. Now, it later did become an American show because it got picked up for late night syndication, but it was born and bred in Toronto. And that's SCTV. Absolutely love SCTV. For those of you not familiar with SCTV, it's Second City Television, where the premise is there's this group of misfits that are running a late night television show, or I guess rather a television channel. And it's the management, it's the goings on behind the scene. You get to see the sketch comedy. It's more along the lines of Saturday Night Live than it would be Cheers. But for example, it starred a cast of many, including John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Eugene Levy, Andrea Martin, Rick Moranis, Catherine O'Hara, Harold Ramis, Marty Short, Dave Thomas, and everything in pop culture that nothing scared them. They could do a lot of humor on culture, television shows, the music scene at the time, movies, and it was always relatable. It's kind of that the Canadian sense of humor is the combination of the American and the British, and that's kind of what you got here. And to me, John Candy's in my top 5 favorite actors, period.
Yeah.
And some of his work on here, if you're not familiar with his early stuff, check out him and the relationship he has with Joe Flaherty and with Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. They all came up through Second City Television with Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, and a lot of the Saturday Night Live people came up through the same set. And later, like when Marty Short got on it, and then Martin Short got onto Saturday Night Live, and SCTV got picked up, I think, by NBC to play after. And I can quote entire passages in SCTV. Like, you talk about the Schmengi brothers, you talk about Bob and Doug McKenzie, you talk about, Battle of the Network Stars, and I could watch it anytime.
It's a great pick. I totally forgot about that one. So number 3 for me, Sanford and Son. I don't need to say a whole lot about it. I still watch it religiously on late night.
The one girl just died. Lamont's girlfriend.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware. I know Lamont, Demond, he's still alive. Wanda and Red Fox are both passed on now. A bunch of all the other main characters Demond and like one other main character is still kind of around, but for the most part, the majority of the cast. But it was, I don't want to say it was ahead of its time, but it really was at a time. There wasn't another show like it. People like to say, well, the Jeffersons kind of were Good Times, but really they weren't the same. Like it was really a different kind of show. Like Red Fox he was a different kind of character. Like he had so many running gags and so many running things that he could do that other people couldn't do.
No, it was the black flip of All in the Family.
Yeah, I think more so than what the Jeffersons and Good Times were supposed to be. The black flip of that, Sanford and Son was, everything else was All in the Family, Jeffersons, all of those shows. Those were all New York shows. And,
Like Laverne and Shirley, like all that stuff.
yeah, they were all like Midwest, East Coast shows. Yeah. Sanford and Son was the sole show that was sort of LA based, and it kind of gave you that West Coast vibe. And just still, the episodes are, the one where Fred ate the 7-day-old collard greens and he's laying in bed, he's like, oh, he's like, I'm dying. He's like, the buzzards are circling overhead. And then, Esther walks in the room and he's like, oh God, the head buzzard's in the house. And it's just so the way those two insulted each other, but actually were the bestest of friends in real life, and that's the element that today's comedy misses, is that, the old roasts when they used to get up there, Don Rickles and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, and they would roast each other in the most brutal way possible. But they'd go out drinking afterwards. They were the bestest of friends. It wasn't meant to be malicious. It was, where the roasts today they're funny, but some of them like really hit below the belt, and they're meant to, because, when you do a comedy roast of Justin Bieber, when you're going to have this person, this person, and this person, and then you put Ann Coulter on there, Ann's not there for any other reason than just to be a target of jokes, because Ann Coulter is not a comedian. She has no business being on a roast of Justin Bieber other than for Jeffrey Ross and Greg Girardo to basically take pot shots at her being who she is. So, and they never did that. They just did it in a way that was classic but funny. So I miss that era. Number two.
My number two, I debated. It's my second favorite television show of all time, but debate on the comedy side. But I ultimately went with MASH at number two. It's not Adam 12 funny. It's not I Dream of Jeannie funny. It's not even Happy Days funny.
I don't know if I call Adam 12 funny. I mean, Adam 12 was kind of...
I guess. But I'm just thinking of, like Car 22, Where Are You? Like those kind of shows, Dragnet, like it's not that kind of funny.
Right.
But like it's set in the backdrop of the Korean conflict, which ultimately is an allegory of Vietnam, like essentially. And the situations they played up were probably somewhat realistic, because I do know that they used to tap the shoulders of former veterans, or even those currently at that time, and use their stories. And one of their downfalls to the series was they ran out of stories. Hey, have you heard about what we did back in when? Yeah. We already got into that. But the interplay among the characters, it was one of those shows that could get from a very heavy death of a character or something going on amongst the race relations among the soldiers and the Vietnamese people, and at the same time do something stupid about their latrine blowing up. Like complaining about eating fish and pork too much, or like they had to walk a line that I don't know that many shows do anymore. But like the quality of acting was up there with 2/3 of what Hollywood was putting out. But you're dealing with Vietnam, oil crisis, women's liberation, race relations, voting. There's all kinds of things going on in America, North America at that time. And to be able to integrate that with fart jokes, it takes a skill.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a reason why the Final MASH is the all-time greatest viewership ever.
Yeah.
Like I found the last episode a little anticlimactic, but it is what it is.
I mean, it was a show that, for all intents and purposes, like you said, could go from Fall Down Funny to Henry Blake dying in a helicopter crash, and just be like, cliffhanger you didn't even see coming, and then the next episode turn it on its head, back to funny again, with the introduction of Colonel Potter and his horse and Klinger's antics, and then Potter basically not knowing how to take Klinger. So, I mean, it was really one of them shows where,
like that whole side gag where they'd watch dirty movies on reel-to-reel cameras or whatever, projectors in their back room, and then Hot Lips would get pissed off when she sees a boob on with a parrot or something. Like it's just or Klinger putting a card together piece by piece. Like it's just so silly. But I mean, when you're in those situations, you got to do what you got to do to break the monotony.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and it's a show that could never be replicated. I mean, you wouldn't dare. There aren't a lot of TV shows that I hold sacred in the act of, can you recast this? Can you reboot this? There's not a lot of shows I hold sacred like that. MASH is one of the very few, because MASH, whether you wanted to update it to a more modern war or you just wanted to go back to that era, you would fail trying to find the right cast of people that could play that same mix of stupidity but serious antics, and do it in a way that wasn't really political, because that was a cool thing about MASH, is they didn't really make it about politics. There was never a political message other than war is bad. It was never it didn't lean into a John Wayne thing, or it didn't lean into a one way or another sort of thing. It was just, hey, these are people that are caught in a situation that nobody really wants to be in, and they're doing the best they can to survive. And I don't know if you could...
I was going to say, it's funny that you said, you hold it, it's a sacred bell cow. It was a takeoff a movie, like they were able to do it,
Yeah.
Like Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland were, Gary Rossenberger, or what's his name? Who played Radar? Who's the guy that played Radar? He carried over both.
Oh, okay.
He was in the TV show and the movie. Now, Gary Berghoff. That's it. Gary Berghoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is a show that I just started rewatching. I've watched it more times than I even care to admit, but it popped up on my Plex server as a free thing to watch. And I thought, I haven't watched this in a while. It's the Drew Carey Show. Drew and Mimi going at each other is just, to me, still one of the funniest combination of two characters. The way that he would make fun of her makeup, and she'd be like, pig, pig, pig. It was just so great. And all the stupid antics of like his other people. And then, you added Joe Walsh towards the end. And, Joe is actually a very funny guy in his own right. So, it really was a great TV show that I don't think got nearly enough credit for.
And who played the two buddies? Ryan Stiles.
Yeah, Ryan Stiles, and I can't think of the other one, but
I forget. They're the guy that was in Office Space.
Yeah. But, Ryan's on Whose Line Is It Anyways?
I could have easily put that on this list. Love that show.
Yeah. So, I mean, they ended up working together a ton. And, now Drew took over Price is Right, which I just think is funny in its own right. Like, of all the people that could take over for Bob Barker, if I would have made a list, Drew Carey would have never been anywhere near that list of people, to take over for. I would have had Ryan Reynolds above, or Jack Black above Drew Carey for that. But anyways, we're down to our number ones. Your number one TV show, TV comedy that you love to watch.
I was going to say that my last thing I liked about Drew was he obviously was a big rock and roll fan.
Yes.
Because his theme songs were Cleveland Rocks, which was originally, who did Cleveland Rocks? The guy that
President
did
of the United States.
No. But it was originally the guy that did Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
Oh, Ian Hunter.
And then they later went to the 5 o'clock World by the Vogues. That's a deep cut.
And the original for like the first 10 episodes was Moon Over Parma.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Over Parma, was it? And then they went with,
Ian Hunter. Yeah, everybody forgets about Ian Hunter's version, but he's the original. He's the guy that wrote it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It was
So,
performed by presidents of the United States.
oh, they for the TV, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number one is one that is eternally quotable. I have it come up in my reels on Facebook. I'm a member of one of their groups. It's the only TV show I ever used to look forward to watching, and that's Seinfeld. Absolutely loved Seinfeld. The sea was angry that day, my friend, like a man returning soup from a deli. Like it was, it was so irreverent. It was so out there. It was so politically incorrect. You couldn't make it today in the fashion in which it was written. Larry David he's Kramer. Essentially, Kramer's playing, Michael Richards is playing Larry David. Like the episode I love best is the one where they went to Hollywood. Was it Hollywood? No. They got the Kramer got the set from the Mike Douglas show and put it in his apartment, and was hosting his own late night TV show in his apartment with Newman. He was bringing in guests, and George goes in there and goes, "Doesn't smell so good." And Kramer's like, "Well, some of our stars of the '70s did not quite have the hygiene that they do today." He's got a bird flying, and oh my god, the whole episode about challenging each other to be the king of their own castle. The masturbation episode. Oh my god, the only one I never saw originally was I used to have university classes 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock on Thursdays, and I always missed it during my third year university. So I missed the Cuba Day parade episode, and then they banned it because too many people complained it stereotyped the Cubans in a negative way. So it took me years to see the Cuban Day episode between the portrayal of homosexual characters and Cuban people, or the flag, something with the flag. It took me a long time to watch it, but I can watch Seinfeld any day. The opposite day, where George just basically does whatever the hell he wants to do that it goes against his instincts, and yes, I am employed. I am balding. Would you like to go back to my place? And he gets a date, like, give me a break.
I can honestly say I have never seen a single episode of Seinfeld. I have never wanted to. I've seen bits and pieces here and there. It's just not something that is kind of in my wheelhouse. Probably at some point I may sit down to try to watch it, but it ranks sort of up there with Friends as far as TV shows that I've never had a desire to watch.
No, Friends I've never had a desire. I've never sat through a whole episode of Friends. I found it annoying and too flashy, and But the thing with Seinfeld, where how it works, and one of the reasons it still works to this day, is it's not current event specific. It's more in the George Carlin mode, where the themes of the episode, maybe technology's changed a bit. Maybe you'd have to alter a little bit of the storyline, but essentially the theme of friendships and being annoying and sexuality and growing up in your 40s and living in a big city, they will always be there.
Yeah.
So I think it ages well. So I think, you might be able to, when you retire or whatever, sit on the couch and watch it.
My number one, much like Seinfeld, a TV show that you simply could not redo in today's current environment. You would get crucified. I won't say it was ahead of its time, but it was kind of ahead of its time. Had a history of making jokes about things that happened years later. My number one is a show that I've rewatched it probably 50 times, and it's Married with Children. I still see little things in episodes where they'll crack jokes about something and be like, I have to look it up and be like, oh man, that happened. Like the one episode where he was trying to win the radio contest and he was banned from the radio station. So he was trying to get Griff to get the prize for him. And Marcy showed up, and the radio disc jockey looked at her and says, aren't you Bruce Jenner's? It was literally like, 9 years before the Caitlyn Jenner thing. And it was like, wow. And there's other things that I've noticed that Al said, or that, Bud said, that were years before they became an actual talking point for one reason or another. So, there's talk of them there's talk of them continuing the series in an animated form. There's supposed to be an animated version of it. So it's like Married with Children meets Family Guy, essentially, where they moved to Florida.
Well, I always liked the neighbor, the guy. No, the guy, thin guy, kind of wimpy. The friend, with Marcy's husband,
Oh, Steve?
Steve.
Steve or Jefferson? I would say it was Steve in the beginning, and then Steve left, and Jefferson came in. Ted, what is it, Ted McGinley? I think his name is.
Oh, Ted. Yeah, no, not Ted. The other one.
Yeah, he played Jefferson. He's Happy Days and Revenge of the Nerds and
Yeah. Ted
shit.
McGinley, I know. Yeah, but the
Oh,
other guy, was
so
more
that was
stiff.
Steve.
Yeah, he was more stiff. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the sort of yuppie, nerdy one.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was such a great cast, especially considering that for the majority of the episodes, Amanda Burse and the one who played Al, they really hated each other.
Oh, Ed O'Neill?
Yeah. And they she had a real problem with the shit that he was writing and was saying. And, she tried to get the show edited all the time to change the different things. Like, she hated the whole no ma'am storyline. So she would lean extra hard into her spiels about, blah, blah, blah. And apparently there was quite a bit of on-set bickering that, and there's been different ideas of, we're going to reboot this with Bud being the new character. And then they said, well, we're going to animate it now because, Christina Applegate has multiple sclerosis now and, can't act anymore. So blah, blah, blah. I would love to see a new version of it. I think Katie Seagal's still around, Ed O'Neill's still around, David Faustino's still around, even if Christina Applegate can't be on it other than as the occasional just whatever. I think you could introduce a new neighbor. Al's finally retired. Him and Peggy have moved to somewhere, Florida, for example, and now they have to battle the HOA, the Karen next door type of character. And the prank wars and the different things that could go on, and Bud shows up occasion with a bunch of his bratty kids, and different things, and
the irony could be you could set him with a curvy bimbo.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, there's so many directions you could go with it, but really just in and of itself, even if you only look at those 11 seasons that you had, they were funny. I mean.
But there was a bit of it. I did think it went on a bit long, but that was because it was essentially carrying the Fox network.
Yeah.
It was the one show Fox had, other than Cops, you knew you could watch on Fox. So, it probably should have cut 2 years earlier, but they needed a flagship show.
They made fun of it constantly. Like, Fox TV viewing positions, and they would all take the one would put the aluminum foil on his head and hold the antenna, and the other one would take the antenna over here, and it was, I mean, they literally made fun of the fact that Fox was terrible. I
didn't watch it as close. Eventually, did Al and Peg have relations?
Yeah, I mean, more than a few times.
Oh, did they? Okay.
It was, I mean, they always made fun of it, then they started introducing her family. Tim Conway as her dad was inspired. They never did show her mother, other than her mother was supposed to be humongous. The one where the one where Al walks in, he's got KFC, and the mom's upstairs and she screams, "I smell foul." And Al's like, "You certainly do." I mean, it's shit like that. You simply couldn't.
Well, the one I always remember is the one where Christina Applegate got a job as the weather girl. Okay, the cloud coverage over Chicago, really? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't mind the show. It's just I thought it kept going a bit.
It probably was a year or two too long, but I mean, even towards the end, it was still a funny show, and it went out.
And I mean, the thing is Ed O'Neill and Katie Seagal are really good actors. Like, they really they it shows their ability to be able to play rednecks, uneducated rednecks, yet lovable. Let endearing. Whether you were left wing, whether you were right wing, whether you were whatever, you enjoyed the character because no matter what side of the fence you're on, you deal with the shit he does.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was that. I think anyone who's ever been married, kind of, whether your marriage was like that or not, you found bits and pieces of moments where if you're married and you have kids, you have those moments where your kids do things or your significant other does things, and you
And you just,
kind
at the
gotta
end of the day, you want to sit on the couch, have a beer, and watch football. That's all you
yeah,
want to do.
yeah, and just the little things, because even in the best marriages, when he's sitting at the table and Peggy comes in and she's like, "Oh, did you miss me?" And he's like, "With every bullet so far," you know, and like every married person at least once has thought about offing their partner, and could I get away with it? And then of course reason kicks in and you're like, no, I couldn't, and I wouldn't really want to, but there's those things that people do, and it's in return. I mean, as guys are stupid. I mean, there's just no way.
I mean,
Nice.
the other show that played on a lot of that dynamic was Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah,
Same sort of, dynamic, but it was done a little bit, softer. Whereas Fox was trying to get in the early 90s, those edgy, 18 to 26-year-old viewers.
yeah,
That's what you had to do. Whereas CBS didn't need that.
right. So that is our top 10 picks and our honorable mentions, sir. Once again, thank you for coming on and being a part of my circus.
I was going to say, listeners, if you like what I want, please flood CJ with lots of texts and emails. I have a blast doing these. We literally came up with this in an hour
Yeah.
as I was returning a chainsaw to Home Depot.
This was as on the fly as it's going to get. Like
guerrilla podcasting, but at the best. Best of what we got. So if anybody wants to listen to me, listen to Land of the Creeps, listen to music, movies, sports, and stuff. I'm on all your podcatchers. Send me a message. Come around. Give me a listen. I'll be back at some point whenever CJ doesn't get tired of me. So whenever I'm going to be camping from July 8th to August 9th. So towards the end of August, Christopher, whenever you're ready, I'm good to go.
Beautiful. I got other ideas, and we are going to do the recasting.
How about like recast like Deep Throat, something like that,
Ooh, yeah. I've never seen it. I don't have that problem. So.
I don't think I have either. So it's part of the investigation.
Yeah. So with that said, be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember, no matter what you're going through, music heals.